Good morning. Welcome to Changing Times. This is Dawn Blackard.
Co-host Lynn Morris. Welcome to Changing Times. And Don, we were going to start out by, this is our 6th week. And so we're just still in the infancy stage, but we're getting more listeners every week. And we want them to do something. So what were we talking about?
Today we're going to, on listening, we want people to share this post. So you need to share and have people go over and like the Acts Ministry group. Because then they can follow us every week and all the other great shows that are on. So just share with everyone you know.
Right, and this show is live, so we appreciate everyone tuning in today. But you know what? The great thing is if you can't do this show right now and watch this show, listen to this show tonight, tomorrow, next week, whenever you feel like it, you can go back and watch all our shows from the beginning. It's on the Acts Ministry Facebook, and just kind of catch up with what we're doing. And one of the things that Don and I wanted to make sure that you know, this show is designed for everyone out there that's watching and listening. You can help us make this show. We've picked out some topics of changing times. We know that we're in the middle of definitely changing times. So we're working about social issues, real solutions. And we got 2 great guests today, but you can also you can send us a message on Facebook and say, hey, I'd like to hear this topic. That'd be great. We'd love to know what you want us to do instead of us just picking out the topic every time. I can guarantee you every topic we pick out will be a good one, and you're going to learn from it, and you're going to benefit, but we'd like your input. And then if you have a question about anything that was said today, we can make sure that you can get a hold of our experts that are always our guests, and either Don and I also will help answer them. So we're anxious to hear responses from you on Facebook. So I think we're ready to go ahead and start with our first guest.
Well, today we have such an exciting show because we have 2 people here who are investing in the kids in our community. And we really want to encourage anyone that's out there that they can do their part too. There's more than being a volunteer. We want volunteers, but there's ways that you can share this information. You can share the message of Casa and Dogwood Ranch. You can also donate and be a part of the financial blessing to both of these organizations. So we're going to get started today with Laura Farmer. We have her here. She's the executive director of Casa. And Casa is such an amazing organization. You really get to be hands-on. You really get to advocate for a child. And I have just heard such good things about Casa. I've heard that they really have the ear of the judge, and they really make a difference. I am considering being a Casa volunteer in the next 5 years. It's on my 5-year plan. And I know quite a few people have messaged me this week on Facebook telling me that they too want to get involved with Casa. And so take me through the steps of what it would be like for me to get involved.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on your show today, because community awareness, being a volunteer organization, that community awareness is so important for us. And so please do share this post, because probably everyone knows someone who would make a great Casa volunteer on behalf of a child in foster care. So in order to get involved, our Casa volunteers, they will go to our website, which is casaswmo.org, and they will fill out a volunteer application. What they need to know when they fill out that volunteer application is that they are making a commitment to a child in foster care to visit that child at least twice a month, to really act as a positive, consistent adult in that child's life, a positive mentor, role model, all of those things. But they take that information that they're learning about the child and the child's case, and they're bringing it back to the judge and to that family support team that's working with that family. So the Casa plays a really important role. They are a volunteer, and so they build a very important, special bond with that child. Again, just consistently showing up for them, showing that child that they matter and that they're valued. It's very important for our kids in foster care to have that person in their life. So our Casas, they will fill out that application on our website. Within 24 business hours, they'll get a phone call or an email from our Casa office to schedule a volunteer interview. They go through that volunteer interview so that we get to know them, they get to know our agency, make sure that it's a good fit for them, because we want people who are going to be consistent in their volunteer experience with us. They do that interview. Of course, we run background checks. We do references for all of our volunteers. And then they go through our training. Our training is 30 hours. It's a very in-depth training on the child welfare system and how to build a trusting relationship with a child who has been through trauma. But then also how to write a court report. Because a lot of us, if you've not worked in child welfare or you're not an attorney, you maybe have never been to court before. So it could be an intimidating process. So we try to demystify a lot of that. They go through the training, 30 hours, then they're sworn in by the judge, which is a really neat experience. And then they're assigned to a child's case in the foster care system. That one CASA will serve that one child or one sibling group the entire time that child is in foster care. So we do ask for at least a 2-year commitment from our CASA volunteers, because children in foster care may be in foster care for 2 or more years. So again, that consistency is very, very important to our program. And again, that CASA is only focused on that one child or one sibling group during their volunteer experience. Our CASAs are spending about 5 to 10 hours a month in their CASA service, visiting the children, attending important meetings, writing their court reports, and going to court to advocate for whatever is in that child's best interest. So that kind of gives you a summation of what CASA is, what we do, and really how to get involved.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So from my research, I have found that if you have a CASA in your life, if you're in foster care, you have a greater chance of having health care, education, intervention, and you're likely to get placed faster and in a nice, loving home. And that's the goal here, is to walk a kid through this transition. I mean, these kids are so innocent, and that's what you're doing, is coming beside them and getting them where they need to go.
Yes, absolutely. So our kids with a CASA, we show that they have more stability in the foster care system. They actually perform better in school because that CASA is involved in asking questions and talking with the teachers, so they know if that child needs a little bit of extra support. They're reporting all of that information back to the team and to the judge, and making sure that those referrals are made to get them a therapist or get them a tutor, whatever that child might need. That's what that CASA is going to be advocating for. We also can show that our kids with a CASA actually spend less time in foster care. So they're leaving foster care more quickly into a safe, loving, and permanent home. And one of the things that is weighing on my heart specifically this year is our kids with a CASA, they are less likely to re-enter foster care after exiting foster care the first time. So in the state of Missouri, we have a portion of our kids, about 16% right now, will be in foster care, and then when they exit foster care, they're reunified or they're adopted, or whatever their situation is. Within a couple of years, they re-enter the system due to repeated abuse. With our CASA program, we show that our kids that we serve have less than 1% of chance of re-entering the system.
It's wonderful.
So that's why I am so passionate, and our team is so passionate about getting the information out there and recruiting volunteers to serve as CASAs for our kids, because for their long-term stability and really breaking that cycle of abuse, which we all want to see. If I could work myself out of a job, I would do it, because that's what's in the best interest of kids. We don't want our kids to suffer abuse and neglect. No kid should have to put up with that. And so with our program in recruiting volunteers and really equipping them to be the hands and feet. You know, it's really important. It's really important to our kids in our community.
Well, we are so blessed to have CASA here, because some counties don't have CASA because they are lacking dramatically with volunteers. And so we need to keep this going with encouraging people. How many people right now volunteer for Southwest Missouri with CASA?
We have training classes often. Every other month we start a new training cycle. So we're constantly training new folks. We have about 250 volunteers right now, and we're serving about 300 children in foster care in Greene and Christian counties. If you're listening and you're outside of our community, there may be a CASA program in your community, but if there's not, please reach out and I can walk you through steps of how to either have a CASA program expand in your community, or you could start a CASA program in your community. So I would be happy to talk with anyone listening who is interested in getting involved but doesn't have that opportunity locally.
Well, we have 3 foster kids in our family, and one of them has a CASA, 2 of them do not, because they're coming out of Taney County, and Taney County does not have CASAs. So from our family's perspective, there is a huge difference when a child has a CASA volunteer walking them through this and talking to the judge and making sure that they do have the right placement going on. And Dana shared with me, because you guys know each other, which I love the small community of foster care, but Dana shared that since you came on board, our numbers have really grown with volunteering. So thank you so much for all that you're doing as the executive director, because when you started, there was about 80 volunteers. So
Yes.
to be up to 244 is just wonderful. And we need more. Is there a way, like, say someone wants to take a 2-year commitment, but they want to take a year off and then come back? You work with people, right, with what they're wanting to do?
Yes, so our volunteers are all assigned a CASA employee who supervises them. So we constantly are giving support to our volunteers, and all of our staff members have experience in child welfare and case management. So we understand the system. So we help guide our volunteers through that process of going to court, going to meetings. Child welfare uses special acronyms and language, and so we kind of walk our volunteers through that process and support them. After our volunteers have served on our case, our goal is that our volunteers want to stick around and they want to help more kids in foster care. And so we have some volunteers that have volunteered with us for 20 years now, and they're incredible. Our volunteers are incredible. But yes, if they need to take a break for whatever reason, take some time for their family, or whatever it might be, yes, we do work with them so our volunteers can go on hold for a stint before taking a second case.
Okay, that's wonderful. So go ahead.
Let me
Mike.
ask a question, Laura. So there's people probably watching right now, and it sounds so great, and it is. What you guys are doing is fantastic, and it makes a difference in a child's life. What does CASA stand for? I mean, I'm sure there's somebody out there that's saying, well, they keep saying CASA. What does CASA stand for?
Yes, CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates. We are court appointed. That judge has sworn us in. We are official. There's a Missouri statute that says that citizen volunteers, CASAs, can be assigned to children's cases and will have all of that information just as a professional on that child's case. So that's the court-appointed piece to it. And then, of course, we're advocates. We want to make sure that we're advocating for children's best interest and that we are the voice of children at that table. We're really taking into account what that child wants, what's in that child's best interest, but also what the child wishes. And sometimes those two things can conflict. But that's, again, why we have our program staff that are helping our volunteers kind of navigate the system and some of the difficult things that they might be exposed to, as well as just that emotional piece. Being a CASA volunteer, it's a great thing. It is an intense volunteer opportunity, but it makes a huge difference, and you will forever change the life of a child by serving as a CASA.
Well, I've got 2 more questions real quick. Husband and wife, do you have very many husband and wife teams?
We do. So couples can volunteer together, and so that's a really neat thing. So we do have some people that say, wow, this time commitment, it seems like a lot. But if you partner together with your spouse, or even we have some best friend combos where they can be assigned a case together, especially for some of our large sibling groups that are in foster care. If we have a sibling group of 4, it's a really nice way for couples or best friends to volunteer together. So they can do that and have a great experience and have a little fun together as well.
Well, I was talking about our previous show. We were talking about what's going to happen today, and I had Janet and I had someone ask us from CASA to consider being an advocate for the children, and that was just before COVID, just about the time COVID hit, and so we didn't do it, but I'm still interested too. I mean, it would really make a difference if we had a perfect world. And I wish we did, but we don't have a perfect world. How many volunteers would you need to have to take care of the rest of the kids that you don't have now? And we know there's a difference between the ones that don't and do. So how many more volunteers do you need?
Well, that is a great question. So in Greene and Christian counties right now, there are almost 1,000 children in foster care. We're serving about 300 of them right now. So we have a lot of growth that needs to happen. I would say we need probably 500 volunteers at least. So we have grown quite a lot. We have a long way to go to serve every child in foster care. And right now we have placed our focus on older youth in foster care as well as our sibling groups. Of course, our younger children need served as well. So we really try to take into account if our CASAs have special interests or they want to work with a certain population. We try to make our assignments based on those kinds of things. But yeah, probably 500 volunteers.
Wow.
And then, as Don mentioned, you know, there's no CASA program in Taney County. So that's something that is also on our radar as far as growth and expansion and serving children. There's a lot of opportunity here. And, you know, Don had also mentioned the funding. So we do have a lot of volunteers when we do community awareness events who respond and they want to get involved. We also need the funding in order to continue to train and recruit new volunteers and support them. So it kind of goes hand in hand for us. As we grow, we also need our funding to grow as well.
Yes. On your website, you guys have a really slick, easy to use website, but there's a big donate button right there at the top. And if we could get people to go and donate, I mean, if everyone even did $1, $5, it would make such a big difference in our community, a direct impact. And so if you maybe can't be a volunteer, again, remember to share the information about CASA. Just share that with people that you know and get people to volunteer and then donate.
Yes, absolutely, because probably as people are listening and watching, they're thinking of individuals in their life through their family or their work or their church who would make really great volunteers. And so it just takes sharing of that information, and that's one of the reasons we've grown so much is because we're putting out that community awareness. We're out there in the communities, you know, just putting our mission out there so people know how to get involved, and they are responding when they hear about it.
And we know that the need is increasing. With everything that's
Yes.
going on, there's more kids entering into foster care, which means that we
Yes.
need more volunteers and more funding.
Absolutely, because ideally we're going to be assigning the CASA volunteer immediately when that child first enters foster care. Right now, on average, for 2021, we have 37 children just in Greene County alone that are entering foster care. And if we take that back to 2017, we were at 20 kids a month entering foster care every month. So we have grown significantly in the number of children that are coming into foster care, and so therefore our need for the number of CASA volunteers has increased as well.
If I can just jump in, I would love to just mention from a personal standpoint, so my husband and I have been fostering for quite many years. One of our very first placements had been bounced. She was an older youth, bounced from home to facility to home to facility. The only consistent, when she got to us, the only consistent person on her case was her CASA worker. And it was the only person she trusted. It was the only one she would answer the call to. It was the only one she would open our door for. And it made all the difference. And so as that 16-year-old entered our home, she had been in care for 5 years, you guys. Her caseworker had changed. Her guardian ad litem had changed. Her juvenile officer had actually changed as well. So no one on our team was consistent except for her CASA worker. And she really, from an end user, I'll say, perspective as a foster family, she became like an extended part of our family. She was in our home at that point almost weekly, and we'd still have some contact with her from time to time. But that one person that was consistent, we know statistically how much better our youth do when there's one positive, consistent person in their life that sticks with them. Wow. And for that one kiddo early on in our fostering experience, it was CASA. They literally made the difference for that young woman.
Wow, some powerful information, very powerful. So Laura, how many kids do we have down in Christian County that you all take care of?
So right now in Christian County, there are about 160 kids in the foster care system, and we currently serve about 45 of them. So we have been in Greene County for 32 years. We've been in Christian County now for about 2 years. So we're fairly new to Christian County, and we continue to grow and expand in that community as well. And we've seen a great response, and you know, our child welfare partners and the judge are very supportive of CASA, and so we need Christian County volunteers as well. And even if you're listening and you live outside of Greene and Christian counties, but you want to be involved with our organization, you can still volunteer with us even if you live in Webster County. But you would be assigned to a child's case in Greene or Christian counties, as well as you could talk to us about possibly expanding into whatever community you live in.
Well, I tell you what, Laura, Jan and I'm pretty sure we're probably going to get involved. I don't know if we could help take care of all those kids in Christian County. I think you only assign one or two at a time. Do you
Yes.
do like if they have like a brother and a sister, could you like take both the brother and the
Yes.
sister? I
Yes.
mean, it kind of makes sense that you do kind of want to keep the family together, you know, because one would feel left out if the other one, you know. So I see so many dynamics and how important this is, though. That's awesome. Thank you for what
Yes.
you do.
Well, thank
And
you
thanks
again
the
for having me.
volunteers. I mean, that's awesome.
Oh, our volunteers are amazing. They really are.
Yeah.
Well, you definitely put the need out there, and I hope that this is really marinating in people's hearts to get involved, because there's a huge need and our kids deserve our help.
Absolutely. Every child deserves a caring, consistent adult in their life, whether that's a Casa, foster parents, whatever that looks like. It's really important for our kids in foster care. I always say that if there's one thing our kids in foster care are used to, it's change. Unfortunately, changing foster homes, which means that they probably change schools, which means that they have to change friends. And that consistency is very important. We have wonderful foster parents in our community. We really, really do. But unfortunately, the nature of child welfare is that sometimes our kids bounce around like Dana described. And so having that consistent support for them is ultimately the best thing. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
All right, I think, and I do appreciate it.
Yes.
That's just awesome information. So, Dana Lopez, you're our next guest, and you and I have known each other for quite some time now,
We
and
have.
I know your family. I love your family, and so you are the CEO of Dogwood Ranch.
That's what they tell me.
That's right. I saw that. And I don't know if you were always called the CEO, but you are the CEO of Dogwood Ranch, and rightly so. And your husband, Brian Lopez, he is the COO. And so that is awesome. And you've got a great family. Your parents and Brian's family parents are just great people. I imagine they're part of the board and everything like that. And they've helped so much.
They have.
But so you're situated on property in my district, District 140, when I was a state rep, and it's located really between Rogersville and Ozark
It
on
is.
the eastern side
There it is, yeah.
of the county, just kind of real close to both borders there. And kind of hard to get a hold of, to figure out with
tucked
GPS
away.
and things like that, but once you find it, it's just beautiful. And so you've provided a home for mostly girls, isn't it? I mean, I think you probably had a few.
Yeah, so
boys,
far
but-
we've been
but-
blessed with a lot of teenage girls, Lynn.
Yeah, and you know what? They really, and I really appreciate that. They really need that support and help that you guys in the Christian home atmosphere that you guys have given them. So kind of give the folks out there that's watching and listening just a thumbnail sketch, and then
Sure.
I've got some things I want to ask you about.
Yeah.
So what is Dogwood Ranch?
Yeah, so Dogwood Ranch, we started many years ago just with a real heart. Our family just recognized the need for consistency in foster care for older youth. And so our heart immediately began to go to who are the hardest to place, who are the hardest to keep in a home setting. And we landed just with older youth and teenage girls and what we call in the child welfare system elevated needs. And so primarily we personally, Brian and I, have been able to parent 36 teenage girls over the years. We started in January of 2008, and it has just been a real privilege for us to pour into those daughters over the years and decades. Oh my goodness, have we really been doing this that long to say that? But out of that fostering heart, we just began to see as a family some real need in the child welfare system. And so we just said we can do a couple things to fix this. And it's not going to fix it statewide, but we can help the folks right here in our community. And so we just set out to do that. And so at Dogwood Ranch, we have a few things that we focus on. program-wise. One is called Healing Reigns, and that is our equine therapy program. And that specifically is for mental health. I know some equine programs will focus on physical disabilities. We do not do that. There's a couple of other folks in our region that we often refer out to for those needs. But we want to really take the kids that and the individuals that have come from significant trauma and are having a difficult time processing and really kind of moving beyond maybe post-traumatic stress or what have you on those mental health diagnosis sides, and really be able to bring them into a season of hope. And so that program has been incredible. We've been operating for about 3.5 years with a very full schedule out there. And we primarily, about 85% of our clients are foster kiddos, either currently in care or about to be adopted or recently adopted. And then the other percentage, we take a handful of families that have experienced significant trauma, for all kinds of reasons. And we also serve our military veterans and their families through that equine program as well. And then about 1.5 years ago, we opened The Haven on our property out in Rogersville as well. And that is a transitional living program for former foster youth who are in crisis. So a lot of our youth that age out of the system don't have a lot of support on the other side of that. And so they find themselves either being trafficked, they find themselves living in really dangerous situations, or homeless. And so for those that are ready to have a second chance at getting stable, we have a 9 to 12 month program. We've got 2 small homes on our property out there that they can come. They will have safe housing, mentorship. We really just try to help them get back on their feet. We don't want them to become dependent on us. We want to help give them some security and stability while they grow independent and can get transitioned in a healthy way back into society and community again.
Well, let's talk about those 2 little homes, because I was out there when you were getting those started.
Yeah.
I was out there when they were completed, and I was at one of your fundraisers, and we went through those, and they're just, so these little homes that Dana is talking about, parts of the country have built these little homes like for veterans and homeless people, and it's so great when you build a village of those little homes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're just like a big home, except they're just in little
They're just
tiny,
small.
small but it has everything they need.
Yeah.
And what's really cool, so what's the age in Missouri that our kids age out that the state says, hey, we're not responsible?
No more. Yeah, great question. So we are actually one of just a handful of states that allows our youth to go until 21.
21.
Most kids, however, will not take that option. Laura is saying yes over there.
Right.
Because honestly, they are ready, I'll put that in quotes, they are ready to not have someone or a team of someone's dictating their life anymore. And so a lot of times they will advocate for themselves or ask the judge to release them from care at 18, 19. Maybe they're ready and maybe they're not. And sometimes they get out in the world and realize, I'm not ready. And so we want to be able to kind of have a backup plan for them if they find themselves in some crisis that way. So most states in the United States, 18 is the age that they age out. For Missouri, it's 21.
So I'm glad that Missouri does 21, but however, I've got 3 children. They're in their 40s now with 6 grandchildren, but I will know that our 3 children in the home that we tried to provide for them, if they had aged out of the Morris family at age 18 or age 19, and they never came back, and they didn't come back to get their clothes done or hot meal or get some advice or whatever, they just left, because all kids think they are ready to go out on their own. I mean, they do. I don't know of any kid that isn't ready to go out sometimes before they're really ready to go out, but they don't know that. That's why parents still know a little bit more. But so I really love this concept of the home. And I think right now, as I was talking to you the other day, that you get this one home where you have two young women that's sharing a home. That's right. And it's built that way so you can have 2 in it. And it has that little kitchen so they can learn how to prepare food.
That's right.
And buy food.
That's
you
right.
help them get their first job.
That's right.
I mean, a lot of kids, they don't know how to get a job.
Yeah.
Some of them don't even want a job.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be on your own, you need a job. Okay.
And Lynn, that's important for us because I'd like to say this with grace surrounding it, but nothing is free in life, and nothing is free at the Haven either. And so we start off with baby steps, but it's important that our kids understand that we have 9 to 12 months in this program to help get them prepared for really the rest of their lives in a lot of ways. And so they need to start paying rent. So they do. It starts off at $100 a month, and every quarter it increases and increases until at the end of 12 months, they're paying between $400 and $500 a month, which is somewhat average to what they would be paying in the community, but it gives them the chance to practice. But they need to know that they've got to work. If they're not going to work, they can't stay. If they are going to continue in drug use and abuse, they can't stay. If they're going to not be responsible with their bills, they cannot stay, right? And so this is not an anything goes program, but this is a teaching program, and we want it to be a safe place where they're in the in-between, but they're learning those responsibilities because they've got to, or else they're going to just continue to perpetuate that unhealthy cycle, which we're really trying hard to help them stop, right?
Well, so great what you do. And you teach them how to balance a checkbook,
That's
how
right.
to record
Absolutely.
transactions.
Yeah.
When you don't do that, you get in trouble.
That's right.
And then you help them find a car and help them get a car.
Yes,
you
that's
can't have a
part of it.
job without having a car.
That's right.
So, the whole program that you do. And I think you now have got the other home filled right now with
We
a
do.
young lady and her small child,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
6 months or less. And so, again, she's learning in a home atmosphere
That's right.
how to take care of that child, be a good mother,
That's right.
how to get a job and work and
Yeah.
take care of that little baby and,
Yeah.
and things like that. So what an awesome program.
We
Let's
loved
switch
it.
gears and talk about, you guys just bought some more land.
We did.
And so I'm very excited for you because I know you have another vision
We do.
that you got from God that actually talks about maybe having a village of foster homes.
Yeah.
Kind of tell about that.
Yeah, so we were just blessed just a few weeks ago, actually, to close on the adjoining property to our existing property. So we've always been on 27 acres. This other 27-acre plot came available to us, and just through really miraculous movement of the Lord, we were able to obtain that, and so grateful for that. But we have really since the beginning had a real heart to do what we are calling a community of foster homes. So Brian and I, again, in our family, just being incredibly supportive, parenting elevated needs kids is parenting at a very high level consistently. And we have raised 2 biological daughters who are incredible while we have fostered really tough, also amazing older youth. But the reason that we have done that and been able to do that for all of these years is because we have amazing support around us, Lynn. And my parents would be there in a drop of a hat.
I know.
Our neighbors became very good friends. If there was something going on in our home that was maybe a bit unsafe, or we were having to have an emergency crisis moment with our older youth, I had a neighbor that would grab my littles from the bus stop and make sure that they had a play date, right? I mean, it sounds so silly, but some of those things are life-changing for foster families.
Right.
Trying to parent those older kids that are coming out of trauma. And so the heart, I say all of that to give a little context, that the heart for the village is to replicate that beyond our own home and provide a community where we will have 8 to 10 homes that are built, and we would say maybe 7 or 8 of them would be foster families that are parenting elevated needs youth, the youth that are very hard to place in our community specifically. But then 2 or 3 of the homes that are intermixed in there would be emergency homes, respite homes, on-call homes. So that way, in the middle of the night, if there is a crisis with one of our youth, we've got someone literally across the street who is trained, experienced, ready, knows that family, and can jump in and be available to help. So this does 2 things. It supports our youth, and it provides a long-term placement for them that otherwise might disrupt. And it also makes sure that our families stay filled up and supported so they can continue to parent at those very high levels, which both ends win if we're able to provide that support. So that is our goal, to put 8, 9, 10 homes. We'll see what the Lord provides for, but that's kind of the end goal there.
Well,
And
that's
really
it's a great
fix the
idea.
gap.
It's a great idea, and I know you're going to get it done. I know you're going to get it done. Before we close, though, I want to make sure that I give you some recognition. The Governor Parson, has appointed you to a position with foster care. I think you're maybe the chairman of a committee in Jefferson City.
Yeah.
Just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, such an honor. So for many years I've volunteered, and then just the last maybe 5 years have been appointed on the advisory board that oversees foster care and adoption within the state of Missouri. And so I'm able to take part in those and just be a listening ear and provide some feedback. And it's been a wonderful, real honor and just a wonderful experience to be involved with that group up in Jeff City.
Well, I tell you, I've known Governor Parson for probably 30 years and quite well the 8 years I served. But, I sent him a note and perfect selection. Couldn't have picked a better person
was kind.
to advocate for children and foster
kind.
children in particular. So good job there. And let's just talk very quickly about fundraising for you.
Sure.
You just had a big Boots and Bling, which
Yeah, Boots and
unfortunately,
Roots.
Boots and
Uh-huh.
Roots. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
Boots
no,
and
that's
Roots.
right.
That Jan and I usually go to, but we were in Florida,
You
so
were, yeah, we
we were
missed
out.
you.
We were out of town, but I like to go, and you have great food. And the Hershen family, I want to make sure I mention that they were very instrumental in helping you purchase
They
the
were.
land to begin with. We
Yeah.
don't want to forget them.
No, they have been an incredible support and just wonderful ministry partner. They're amazing.
Yeah, and that's the Silver Dollar City Group, and
That's right.
and a lot of people that own businesses help other people.
Yeah.
They're a shining example
They are.
Of a Christian business that
Yeah.
helps people,
They are.
and so I appreciate them. I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. But so other ways that you're trying to raise money, because you need money all the time, just like Laura, all these nonprofits.
I
So,
know, that
so,
money.
money is hard to come by, but I do know, I want the listeners to know that both of these ladies represent organizations, nonprofits, that won't waste your money.
That's
They won't
true.
waste your money. It's one of the best investments you can make. So
We
what's
do
some
squeeze
other?
the life out of those dollars, don't we, Laura?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So what's another fundraiser? I know we've
Yeah.
got the Sartoma Duck Race.
Yeah,
You
so in Christian County in
Uh-huh.
Ozark every year, there's a great weekend, family fun weekend called the Sartoma Duck Race. And so we're selling tickets for that and some corporate sponsorships. It's a great way, easy way to be involved. And a good bunch of that money comes back to us every year, which is great. And then Price Cutter Charity Championship, is Casa going to be there too?
Yes,
Good.
uh-huh,
So
yes.
that's another opportunity to be able to support both of us through ticket sales and some other giving opportunities there. So get in touch about that. And then in the fall, in October, we'll be having what we call Fall Fest on the property, and we'll be able to house about 250 people there, and it just be a great opportunity to get together and kind of kick off or end of the year, I should
Now
say.
that's going to be on your property?
It is, yes, in
Okay.
October. So
All right.
yeah.
Well, and so we'll make sure that any time that you all want to give us some information, you want us to talk on the show, to give out on the show, we can do that. And you guys are welcome on our Friday talk show too. But about the ducks, I tell people, I was representing Christian County with the commission last Saturday. We had the Ozark Expo, Business Expo, and a little girl came by. Well, actually, it was your
I think it was my daughter.
your
wasn't
daughter,
it?
yeah,
My
and your
youngest.
mother. And I did not go back and buy the tickets, but because I told her, I said, but I will. So I said, well, honey, I said, I have bought so many ducks over the years, and none of my ducks swim very well. I mean, they throw these thousands of little yellow rubber ducks out there, plastic ducks, and mine swim the wrong way. They just go the wrong way. And I was telling her, I don't ask her about this. I said, well, over at Chadwick 2 years ago, I was over at a fundraiser over at Chadwick, and they had a little turtle race. And mostly were boys that caught turtles, but there were some girls. And everyone had to be in a line, and you had to hold your turtle. And when they said go, then you're supposed to drop your turtle down. They're supposed to go straight to the other line. Well, this one turtle was supposed to be the favorite, kind of like a horse race. He was like, had all the odds for him. He was the fastest turtle in Chadwick. Well, when the little boy let the turtle down, he just hesitated. He paused, and all the other turtles started going forward. So this little boy's turtle didn't win, even though he was the favored turtle. And so I asked the little boy afterwards, I said, what happened to your turtle? Because I'd watched him practice, and he was really fast. Every time you put him down, boom, he would go. And he said, I think it was just stage fright.
Yes.
So I think my ducks have got stage fright.
fright.
Well, all these people watching on the Finley River, and they're supposed to go down to the bridge. My turtles are going the opposite way. What's wrong with them?
Lynn, you'll appreciate this. Brian, my husband, says we should start selling upgrades to the ducks, like little, fins or little motors.
Propellers. I'll pay
Yeah.
extra. I'll
That's what
pay
he
extra
said.
to get one. So well, that's good. Well, I want to thank you all. We're going to be running out of time. Probably about 4 or 5 minutes.
No, you got 1 minute and 20 seconds.
Oh, well, okay, 1 minute. Okay, so appreciate both of you being here today. Awesome show. I know that you've explained and told the need of our foster children program. I just hate that we have so many foster children in this state of Missouri. I mean, it just bothers me. But Don, we have got a great show this next week too.
Yeah, we're going to
Wanna
be
talk a
talking
little bit?
about alternative education. We're going to be talking with someone who has been involved with charter schools, and then we have a homeschooling mom on, so we can talk about education from their perspective.
Very good. You know, we had a great discussion with Dr. Mary Byrne about public education, and all of us are products. Everybody in this room is products of public education, and has served us well. However, there is some issues going on in public education today, and so we're discussing some of those with Dr. Mary Byrne. Some of the solutions is parents taking their kids out of public school and homeschooling. A lot of homeschoolers today. Those homeschoolers actually score higher than public school students on achievement tests and things like that. But charter schools is an alternative. And so I'm anxious to continue the discussion on how we educate our kids, because they're the backbones of the next generation. And if we can't educate our kids, that's why I'm so worried about COVID and not being able to be in class. But thank you, and we'll ask words.
Yeah, be the change, everybody. Have a great day.
2, 3. Can I get a hoorah from a patriot like me? Can I get an amen? Do I hear a hallelujah? Can I get a hoorah from